Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
There's a truth that many of us have been running from, avoiding, or simply refusing to believe. You deserve to receive everything good that life has for you. Not because you're perfect, not because you've earned it all by grinding yourself into exhaustion, but because you are human, worthy, enough, just as you are. We live in a culture that tells us over and over again that we have to earn love, earn rest, earn belonging, earn joy. But here's the secret: those things are not rewards. They are birthrights. So many of us grow up with the unspoken rule that in order to matter, we have to prove ourselves. We learn it in small ways at first. As children, maybe we were told we were good when we behaved, when we got good grades, when we didn't cause trouble. And we were told, sometimes silently, that when we failed, when we struggled, when we showed our messy humanity, we weren't enough. We were too loud, too sensitive, too needy, too much, or not enough of something else. And slowly, almost without noticing, we begin to carry this belief that worthiness is conditional, that it comes with strings attached. We start treating worth like a bargaining chip. If I do everything right, then I'll be loved. If I work hard enough, then I'll be safe. If I prove myself, then I'll deserve joy. Worth becomes transactional. It becomes a contract we think we have to sign with the world. I will perform, and in return, you will give me love. But here's the truth that cracks that lie wide open. Worthiness is not up for negotiation. It cannot be earned, bartered, or lost. Worthiness is woven into the fabric of who you are. You were born with it, and no mistake, no failure, no rejection can erase it. The danger of treating worth as a bargaining chip is that you can spend your whole life in performance mode. You keep running on the hamster wheel, thinking the next achievement will finally be enough. Maybe it's the next promotion, the next degree, the next relationship, the next yes from someone you've been trying to impress. And for a moment, maybe it feels like you've arrived, but it never lasts. The feeling of enoughness slips through your fingers, and you're back to hustling for it all over again. I remember sitting with a woman once, a high achiever, someone who from the outside looked like she had it all together. She had built a successful career, had a beautiful family, and was admired by almost everyone who knew her. And yet she told me, with tears in her eyes, I don't remember the last time I felt like I was enough. I keep thinking that if I can just get through this next project, or if I can just lose 10 pounds, or if I can just make everyone proud, then I'll finally feel worthy. But I never get there. Her story is not unusual. In fact, it's the story of so many of us. We keep postponing worthiness. We put it out on the horizon, attaching it to some future condition we may or may not ever meet. And the heartbreaking part is that in doing so, we rob ourselves of the joy that is already available to us. We delay receiving love. We delay belonging. We delay peace, all because we've convinced ourselves we have to buy it with perfect performance. But what if worthiness is not a transaction at all? What if it's not something you achieve, but something you choose to believe? The shift comes when you realize that you don't have to hustle for love, for belonging, for joy. You don't have to prove your humanity, you just have to live it. And here's the thing: choosing to believe you're worthy doesn't mean you'll never fail, never fall short, never feel inadequate again. It doesn't mean you stop growing or stop striving. It means you stop tying your worth to the outcome. You can try something new and fail, and still know you are worthy. You can disappoint someone you love, and still know you are worthy. You can have days where you feel broken, lost, insecure, and still know that at your core, nothing about your worth has changed. Think about it like this: if you held $100 bill in your hand, and you crumpled it up, threw it on the ground, stomped on it, maybe even spilled coffee on it, how much would it be worth? Still $100. Nothing could take away its value. The same is true of you. You may feel crumpled, stepped on, stained with mistakes, but your worth is untouched. You are still enough. The world will try to convince you otherwise. It will sell you the lie that you need to do more, buy more, achieve more to matter. But the truth is, worthiness cannot be outsourced. It's not in someone else's approval. It's not in a job title. It's not in the number of likes you get on a post or the praise you hear from others. Worthiness is an inside job. And until you claim it for yourself, No amount of external validation will fill the void. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you stopped bargaining with your worth. If you stopped saying, "I'll deserve love when," or "I'll allow myself to rest if," or "I'll finally believe I'm enough after." Imagine if you just decided that right now. Without conditions, you are worthy. What would change? Would you stop apologizing for your existence? Would you allow yourself to take up space? Would you finally say no to things that drain you and yes to the things that make your soul come alive? Here's the radical truth. When you stop treating worthiness as a bargaining chip, you set yourself free. You stop negotiating with your own soul. You stop waiting for permission to live fully. And you begin to receive, not because you've earned it, but because you've finally accepted the truth you were always deserving. That acceptance doesn't just transform your own life. It changes how you show up for others. When you know you're worthy, you stop competing for scraps of love and validation. You stop withholding compassion from others because you feel empty yourself. You stop measuring other people by the same impossible standards you've used on yourself. And instead, you become a person who makes room for joy, for belonging, for grace. The freedom of knowing your worth is this: you no longer have to live on the roller coaster of praise and criticism. You no longer crumble when someone doesn't like you or soar only when someone approves of you. You are grounded. You are steady. You know who you are, and that can't be shaken by the shifting opinions of the world. So today, I want you to let go of the lie that you have to bargain for love, or hustle for belonging, or earn your way into enoughness. You don't have to bargain with your soul. You don't have to trade your humanity for acceptance. You don't have to negotiate your worth. You are worthy because you are here. You are worthy because you breathe. You are worthy because you are human, messy, and glorious all at once. And the day you stop treating worth as a bargaining chip is the day you finally start living as the person you were always meant to be. You deserve to receive everything. Not later, not someday, not when you've proven yourself. But right now, just as you are. We live in a world that glorifies giving. We are praised for how much we pour out, how selfless we are, how available we are to meet the needs of others. We measure our goodness by how much we do for the people around us. And while giving is beautiful and necessary, we've created a culture that almost shames receiving. We whisper to ourselves, "Don't be a burden. Don't need too much. Don't ask for help. Don't make yourself vulnerable." So we end up living one-sided lives, giving, while our hearts quietly starve from never allowing ourselves to truly receive. But here's the truth that changes everything: receiving is not weakness. Receiving is courage. Because to receive, we have to let ourselves be seen. We have to let others witness our need, our longing, our limits. And that is terrifying. It's easier to hide behind strength, behind independence, behind the mask of, "I've got this." But to open our hearts and say, "Yes, I need you. Yes, I want this love. Yes, I'll accept your help," requires a kind of bravery that giving alone never demands. Think about it. When someone compliments you, what's your first instinct? Most of us deflect. Someone says, "You look amazing today," and we respond with, "Oh, this old thing. I just threw it on." Someone says, "You did such a great job," and we brush it off with, "Oh, it was nothing." Why do we do that? Because receiving praise makes us feel exposed. If I let your words land, if I truly take them in, I'm opening myself to vulnerability. What if you don't really mean it? What if I can't live up to it tomorrow? What if I accept love today and it disappears tomorrow? It feels safer to deflect than to let it touch us. I remember talking with a man once who had spent decades being the strong one for everyone in his family. He was the one people called when things fell apart. He was the rock, the provider, the helper. But when he went through a crisis of his own, when he lost his job and his confidence along with it, he told me he couldn't bear to let anyone help him. He isolated himself. He said, "If I let them take care of me, then I'll be weak. Then I'll be a failure." And the irony was that he was dying inside, not from the loss of his job, but from the loneliness of refusing to receive love. Receiving doesn't make us weak, it makes us human. And the most courageous humans are the ones who are willing to risk being seen in their need. Because that's what it is. Receiving is about need. And in a culture that worships self-sufficiency, admitting need feels like the most dangerous thing in the world. But here's the paradox. When we receive, we create connection. When we shut down receiving, we build walls. And we end up feeling alone, even when we're surrounded by people who love us. Some of us struggle to receive because somewhere along the way we learned that love comes with strings attached. Maybe when we were children, kindness wasn't freely given, it was conditional. Maybe when someone gave, they expected something back. So now, as adults, every time someone tries to give us love or support, we hear a silent bargain being made. We don't trust that we can receive without owing something in return. And so, we reject it. We keep ourselves safe. But in the process, we block ourselves from the very love we desperately want. But what if we could trust that real love doesn't keep score? What if we believed that receiving isn't about taking something from someone, but about creating a circle where giving and receiving can both exist? Think of the last time you gave to someone from your heart, whether it was your time, your encouragement, your resources. Didn't it feel good? Didn't it feel like a privilege to love in that way? Now imagine what it does to that person when they push your love away. It hurts, doesn't it? It denies you the joy of giving. When we refuse to receive, we not only rob ourselves of love, we rob others of the joy of being able to give to us. It takes courage to say, I can't do this alone. It takes courage to say, yes, I'll let you in. It takes courage to let love land and actually believe, I am worthy of this. Because receiving isn't just about taking. It's about allowing yourself to believe you're enough to be cared for, cherished, and supported. There's also a deeper layer here. Many of us are afraid to receive because we think it makes us indebted. We worry that if someone gives to us, we'll owe them, that their kindness will come back as a bill we'll have to pay later. And maybe that's true with transactional relationships, but not with real ones. In real love, there is no debt. There is no keeping score. Receiving is not weakness. It is trust. It is faith that someone loves you not for what you can do for them, but simply because you are you. Think about the last time you were sick or hurting and someone showed up for you. Maybe they brought food. Maybe they sat beside you in silence. Maybe they held your hand. Did you feel uncomfortable letting them care for you? Did part of you want to say, I'm fine, you don't have to? That resistance is your armor. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is set the armor down and let yourself be cared for. We talk so much about courage as doing hard things, facing fears, chasing dreams. But I believe some of the greatest acts of courage happen in quiet moments when we let ourselves receive. When we let ourselves cry in front of someone. When we let a compliment land instead of deflecting it. When we let someone hold us in our weakness instead of pretending to be strong. That's courage, because that's when we are most exposed. And yet, that's also where intimacy, connection, and belonging are born. If you spend your life only giving and never receiving, you will eventually run empty. Giving is not sustainable without receiving. Imagine trying to pour water from a cup that never gets filled. You can keep pouring for a while, but eventually there will be nothing left. Receiving is how you get filled. Receiving is how you keep your heart alive, so you can keep giving from a place of overflow instead of depletion. I want you to think about the places in your life where you've been resisting receiving. Maybe it's accepting help from a friend. Maybe it's letting someone love you without pushing them away. Maybe it's saying yes to an opportunity instead of talking yourself out of it. Maybe it's simply believing that you're allowed to be happy. Where have you been blocking yourself from receiving because you thought it was weakness? And what would it look like if you redefined it as courage? Because the truth is, the bravest among us are not the ones who carry everything alone. The bravest among us are the ones who let their guard down long enough to be carried. The ones who can look someone in the eye and say, yes, I need you. Yes, I'll accept your love. Yes, I'll receive what life is offering me right now. That is strength, that is courage. And that is the doorway to a life of true connection, true belonging, and true joy. Receiving is not weakness. It is the radical act of believing that you are worthy of love, of care, of abundance. It is saying yes to life. Yes to people, yes to the gifts that are already trying to reach you. And when you finally allow yourself to receive, You don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone who has been waiting for the chance to love you. One of the most dangerous lies we've ever been taught is the lie of scarcity. The whisper that says, there's not enough time, not enough money, not enough opportunities, not enough love. And underneath all of that, you are not enough. Scarcity is not just about resources, it's about identity. It's the voice in our heads that convinces us we're perpetually behind, perpetually lacking, perpetually less than. And that voice is relentless. You hear it in the morning when you wake up. You didn't sleep enough, you're already behind. You hear it when you open social media. You're not successful enough, not pretty enough, not interesting enough. You hear it at work. You're not achieving enough. You hear it in relationships. You're not lovable enough. It's a drumbeat of not enoughness. Scarcity makes us believe that life is a pie, and every time someone else gets a slice, there's less left for us. If she's beautiful, then I can't be. If he's successful, then there's less success left for me. If they're happy, then I'll have to settle for less joy. Scarcity pits us against each other, and worse, it pits us against ourselves. Because when you believe in scarcity, you never let yourself rest. You never let yourself celebrate. You never let yourself receive. I once worked with a young man who had just graduated from college, and he told me, I feel like I'm in a race that I never signed up for. Everyone's moving faster than me. Everyone's already ahead. I can't catch up. Scarcity had him by the throat. The lie had convinced him that there was only a limited window for success, and that if he didn't meet some invisible deadline, he was already too late. But that's the thing about scarcity. It thrives on urgency. It convinces you that you have to rush, perform, compete, or you'll miss your one chance. And that pressure suffocates joy. But here's the truth: scarcity is a lie. Life is not a pie. Love does not run out. Opportunity does not expire. Joy is not rationed. Just because someone else is shining doesn't mean your light has been dimmed. Just because someone else is receiving doesn't mean you're being deprived. The universe is not stingy. God is not withholding. But scarcity makes us live as though they are. Think about the last time you saw someone else succeed. Maybe they got the job you wanted, or the recognition you thought you deserved. What did that stir up in you? Was it joy for them, or was it envy, fear, the sinking feeling that you'd been left behind? That's scarcity talking. Because abundance says, their success doesn't take away from mine. Their moment doesn't cancel my future. There is enough room for both of us. Abundance says, there is no limit on love, on joy, on grace. I remember sitting in a hospital room with a friend who had just given birth to her second child. She was holding her newborn, and her first child, a little toddler, was standing nearby. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, I didn't think I could love another baby as much as I love my first. But now I realize love doesn't divide, it multiplies. That's what abundance looks like. Love doesn't run out when it's shared, it grows. And the same is true for joy, kindness, opportunity. When we stop believing in scarcity, we stop competing and start multiplying. Scarcity also shows up in how we treat ourselves. It tells us, you don't deserve rest until you've worked hard enough. So we grind ourselves into the ground, never feeling like we've earned the right to pause. It says, you don't deserve joy until you've accomplished more. So we postpone happiness, waiting for a day that never comes. Scarcity makes us live like beggars at the feast of life, always reaching, never satisfied, never believing there's enough for us. But the truth is, joy is available right now. Peace is available right now. Love is available right now. We don't have to earn it. We just have to stop believing the lie that it's scarce. Scarcity thrives in comparison. Every time we scroll, every time we measure our lives against someone else's highlight reel, we reinforce the belief that we're behind, that we're lacking. But here's the thing: comparison is built on scarcity. It only exists when we believe there's not enough. If we truly believed in abundance, we wouldn't need to compare. We could celebrate others while also celebrating ourselves. I know this in my bones, but I also know how hard it is to practice. Because scarcity feels real. It feels so tangible when you've been rejected, when doors have closed, when people have walked away. But scarcity confuses setbacks with finality. Just because something didn't work out doesn't mean nothing will. Just because you lost once doesn't mean you'll always lose. Scarcity tells you this is the end. Abundance whispers this is just part of the story. I once heard someone say, the ocean doesn't apologize for its waves. The sun doesn't ration its light. Why do we ration love, joy? Belonging. That hit me deeply. Because scarcity makes us ration things that are meant to be infinite. We ration affection, we ration celebration, we ration our own light. Because we're afraid there won't be enough. But when we do that, we shrink. We live smaller than we were created to be. So what does it look like to live as though scarcity is a lie? It looks like celebrating someone else's win without making it mean you've lost. It looks like resting without guilt, trusting that the world won't fall apart if you take care of yourself. It looks like receiving love without suspicion, believing that you are not a burden but a blessing. It looks like speaking truth instead of competing in silence. It looks like reminding yourself every day, I am enough. There is enough. Imagine a world where we all lived from that truth. Imagine a world where women didn't tear each other down out of fear that there's only one seat at the table. Imagine a world where men didn't feel pressured to prove themselves endlessly, as if worth was always one achievement away. Imagine a world where children grew up believing not in scarcity, but in abundance, that there would always be enough love, enough belonging, enough space for them. That's the kind of world where healing happens. The lie of scarcity keeps us afraid, divided, and exhausted. But the truth of abundance sets us free. You are not behind. You are not lacking. You are not too late. There is more than enough. There always was. There always will be. And the moment you stop believing in scarcity is the moment you begin to live as though you deserve to receive everything. One of the hardest lessons we will ever learn in this life is that sometimes the things we hold onto most tightly are the very things keeping us from receiving what we've been praying for. We grip old wounds, old identities, old relationships, and old stories because they feel familiar. They may even feel safe, even if they're painful. And yet, those clenched fists cannot receive anything new. Letting go is not about loss. It's about making space. I remember talking with a woman who had been through a devastating breakup. She said to me, I want to find love again, but I can't stop replaying the past. Every time I imagine moving forward, it feels like betrayal. To him, to myself, to the years I invested. She was still holding on to what had ended, even though it was crushing her. Her hands were full of grief and bitterness, so there was no room for the possibility of new love. And I gently told her, you don't let go to erase the past. You let go so your heart can have space to heal. You let go so you can hold something new. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it never mattered. It doesn't mean denying the impact of what happened. It means choosing to put down what is too heavy to carry so you can finally walk forward. It means loosening your grip on things that were never meant to define you. Because when we cling too tightly to what was, we block ourselves from what could be. So many of us are carrying buckets we were never meant to hold. Buckets full of shame. Buckets full of resentment. Buckets full of lies we've told ourselves about who we are. And those buckets are heavy. They drain our strength. They occupy our hands. And when life tries to hand us joy, peace, or opportunity, we can't take it, not because it isn't available, but because we don't have room. Think of your heart like a home. If every room is cluttered with old furniture, old boxes, and broken things you refuse to throw away, there's no room left for beauty. There's no space for new life to grow. Letting go is like clearing the house. It's painful to toss some things out because they've been with us for so long, but once the space is open, the light comes in. The fresh air circulates. The home begins to feel alive again. That's what happens when you let go. You create space for receiving what you've been longing for. Sometimes the hardest thing to let go of is not people or things. It's the story we've been telling ourselves. Maybe you've been carrying the story, I'm not good enough. Maybe your story is, everyone leaves me. Maybe it's, I don't deserve love. I don't deserve success. I don't deserve joy. Those stories become our identity. And as long as we grip them tightly, we filter every new opportunity, every new relationship, every new blessing through them. Even when love comes, we push it away because our story says we're unlovable. Even when success knocks, we sabotage it because our story says we're not capable. Letting go of those stories is terrifying because they've been our companions. They've explained our pain. They've justified our walls. They've given us a framework for why things hurt the way they did. But those stories are not the truth of who you are. They're just chapters you've outgrown. And until you let them go, you'll keep living a small life, even though you were created for more. I think about forgiveness here too. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It's not about excusing harm. Forgiveness is about letting go of the grip that pain has on your life so you can be free. When we hold on to anger, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The bitterness corrodes us from the inside out. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean forgetting. It simply means, I will no longer let this pain own me. I will not let it take up all the space in my heart. And when you release that, you make room for healing. You make room for peace. Letting go is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as quiet as taking a deep breath and deciding not to replay the same thought for the 1,000th time. Sometimes it's choosing not to check the phone for a message that will never come. Sometimes it's writing down the words you've been carrying, then tearing up the paper as a way of saying, I'm done letting this control me. Letting go doesn't always happen in one big moment. Sometimes it happens one small decision at a time. But with each release, you create more space for something better. And here's the truth: letting go is an act of trust. It's saying, I believe there's more for me. I believe that if I set this down, my hands won't stay empty forever. I believe life is not done giving to me. That trust is what allows us to unclench our fists and make room for what's coming. It's scary because we want guarantees. We want to know exactly what we'll receive if we let go. But life doesn't work like that. You can't receive with closed hands. You have to release first. You have to trust first. I know this in my own story. I've held on to relationships that had long since expired because I thought letting go meant failure. I've held on to achievements because I thought my value depended on them. I've held on to shame because I thought I deserved it. And every time, letting go felt like dying. But what I've learned is that on the other side of letting go is resurrection. On the other side of release is renewal. You cannot step into a new season if you're still dragging the baggage of the last one. You cannot receive the fullness of what's ahead if you're clinging to the brokenness of what's behind. Letting go isn't just about release, it's about readiness. It's about saying, I'm ready to be filled. I'm ready to be surprised. I'm ready to receive what's next. So today, I want you to ask yourself, what am I still gripping that no longer serves me? What am I carrying that is weighing me down? What story, what pain, what fear am I still holding onto with both hands? And then I want you to imagine setting it down. Imagine your hands finally empty, open, free. Because those open hands are the posture of receiving. That's how you create space for joy. That's how you create space for love. That's how you create space for peace. Letting go will break your heart, but it will also heal it. It will hurt, but it will also set you free. Because only when you release what was never meant for you will you finally have space to receive what was always waiting for you. Joy is such a tender, fragile thing. It's not fragile because it's weak. It's fragile because it's sacred. For many of us, joy feels almost dangerous. When we finally feel it, our minds quickly whisper, don't get too comfortable, something bad is about to happen. Or we say to ourselves, I don't deserve this happiness when other people are struggling. We shrink. We edit ourselves. We apologize for being in the sunlight. But here's the truth I want you to hold close today. You deserve joy without apology. Not joy earned, not joy negotiated, not joy rationed, but joy that flows into your life simply because you are here and alive. Think about a time you laughed so hard your ribs ached. Or a moment when you were overwhelmed by beauty. Maybe it was a sunset that felt like it was painted just for you. Or the way your child's hand curled around your finger. In those moments, you weren't calculating whether you deserved it. You were simply receiving joy as it was, pure, unfiltered, and free. But then, almost immediately, so many of us put up walls. We downplay it. oh, it was nothing. Or we compare, other people have it worse, I shouldn't be this happy. Or we shrink. If I show my joy, others might feel bad, and in doing so, we starve ourselves of the very thing that heals us. Joy is not selfish. Joy is not prideful. Joy is not stealing from anyone else's share. When you step fully into joy, you don't take away from the world. You add to it. You radiate something that gives others permission to hope again. Your joy becomes an anchor of possibility for someone else. It's like a candle. Lighting yours doesn't extinguish another's flame, it simply creates more light. So why do we keep blowing out our own candle? Apologizing for the brightness. One of the deepest lies we absorb is that joy must be justified. That we can only celebrate once everything in our life is perfectly aligned. That we have to downplay our blessings to make room for others' pain. That joy must be temporary, fragile, or dangerous. But joy is not a finish line. It is not a guilty pleasure. Joy is a spiritual practice, a daily choice, a state of being we are all wired for. Denying it doesn't protect us from pain. It only robs us of healing. Let me share something vulnerable. I remember a season in my own life where things were finally going right after years of struggle. But instead of savoring it, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It was as if joy itself was a setup, a trick, a prelude to loss. Every laugh, every blessing, I carried this hidden fear. This can't last. And you know what? That fear robbed me more than any pain could. Because pain, when it comes, is real, but it's also honest. Fear of losing joy, that's suffering twice, once in anticipation and once in reality. The practice of unapologetic joy asks us to do something radical, to stop rehearsing tragedy in the midst of blessing, to stop shrinking when life offers us a gift, to stop making ourselves small so others won't feel uncomfortable. Because here's the thing, when we dim our joy, we don't protect anyone. We just create more darkness. But when we live joy out loud, we model something powerful. That it's possible to feel grateful, to celebrate, to dance in the kitchen even when the world is imperfect. And that kind of joy isn't offensive, it's contagious. Unapologetic joy is also an act of resistance. It pushes back against the voices that say we're not enough, that we must hustle for worthiness, that rest or pleasure is laziness. It pushes back against generational narratives that told us to keep our heads down, to play small, to never outshine. When you stand tall in your joy, when you say, I am allowed to feel this, you disrupt the cycle of shame that has kept families, communities, even entire cultures, stuck in silence. Your joy tells a bigger story, that life is not just about surviving, but about thriving. So what does it mean to live joy without apology? It means laughing loudly without checking if it's too much. It means celebrating your wins without downplaying them. It means dancing even if people are watching, even if your moves aren't good enough. It means giving yourself permission to rest, to savor, to enjoy what you've worked so hard for. It means telling your story of blessing without guilt, knowing your light doesn't dim anyone else's. It means letting yourself feel joy even in the midst of struggle, because life is not one or the other, it's both. And here's the most powerful part: when you claim joy, you invite others to claim it too. Imagine what would happen if we all stopped apologizing for being happy. Imagine families where children grow up seeing their parents laugh without restraint, not just when things are perfect, but in the everyday mess. Imagine friendships where we celebrate each other's wins without jealousy. Imagine communities that allow space for both grief and joy, knowing both are sacred. That's the kind of world unapologetic joy builds. But it starts with you, with me, with us making the decision day by day to stop hiding, to stop shrinking, to stop whispering sorry every time we shine, to understand that joy is not a luxury but fuel, that joy strengthens us, heals us, anchors us, and that to deny it is to deny life itself. So today, let yourself step into joy without apology. Let yourself sing off key, laugh until your stomach hurts, celebrate without justification, dance without restraint, love without fear. Let yourself feel joy not as a stolen privilege, but as your birthright. Because joy is not something you must earn. It is something you already deserve. And when you live it fully, you don't just transform yourself. You give everyone else permission to do the same. You deserve joy without apology. Not someday, not once you've earned it, not when the world gets easier, but right now as you are. So here's the invitation: stop standing outside the door of your own life, waiting for someone to invite you in. Step through, receive it all. Because you deserve to. Because you are worthy. Because the world needs the version of you that's not starving on scraps, but fully alive, fully receiving, fully shining. You don't have to wait anymore. Open your heart, stretch out your hands, and receive everything.